Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and the rest of you degenerates, to this episode of Man Buns and Jesus. This is season 5, but it's one of those episodes that we're not going to count it as it's in season 5. It is not of season 5 of Man Buns and Jesus. I'm one of your hosts, Josh Laborious, and to tell you why this doesn't count is my wonderful, delightful co-host, Reverend Benjamin Olschlager, dressed
You
in
give,
a collared shirt and everything.
you give me too much credit, Josh. We had the preschool Christmas performances this morning, so
Ah,
I
yes.
had to look like an adult for today. Um, but
Didn't really
we
work out, but you tried.
sure. Uh, this episode is currently scheduled to come out the day after Christmas.
And it's sponsored
And,
by Raid Shadow Legends.
uh, um,
You said this episode is, and I was like, did we get sponsored? Is that we're not
no,
actually sponsored? Although Raid Shadow Legends, if you want to send us money, we'll do it.
no, we won't. I'll veto.
I'll do it. Don't worry.
Um, anyway, today we're talking about Christmas traditions because um this episode is scheduled to come out the day after Christmas, and we want to keep you in the festive spirit, um, and help you enjoy your Christmas holiday. So, Josh, I'll let you kick it off, or you can kick it back at me. But what is the Christmas tradition that your family has that you look forward to the most?
Ooh, um, I have to say, just and this for the remainder of the podcast, I'm operating also with kind of childhood traditions because Chris and I don't have a ton of like traditions that are unique to us. But what I have
Hmm.
always looked forward to um, is every year, as far back as I can remember, um, my mom's side of the family gets together pretty much immediately after Christmas because there are there are now 5 pastors on that side of the family, which means Christmas is a no go. So we get together immediately afterward, and it's always we'll because it's a huge family in that side of the family. There are several dozen of us. Um, so we went from grandma and grandpa's house to renting a mansion, um, to now we are at a retreat center. We rent out a retreat center for our family Christmas, and we'll spend a week with all the cousins and aunts and uncles and everything, and it's a great time. What about you, Ben?
I think for me, and I've got one that's kind of a Christmas tradition that's forming, and then one that's um, or I guess I'm hoping it's forming, and then one that's
You want it to
lifelong.
become tradition.
Yes. So, um, long term, I think back to when I was a kid, and we would go to my mom's parents every year for Christmas, and most of the cousins would come. Some, a lot of years, all the cousins would come, um, and aunts and uncles, and I think there were 15 to 20 of us total. So not a super huge family, but like we made up a good 10 to 15% of the worship service at Grandma's church, for whatever service we attended. And frequently we were a good chunk of the choir too. Um, so
The traveling Olschlager choir.
that top side, my mom's side. Uh,
No.
but uh, after church, we would come back to Grandma and Grandpa's, have dinner, um, and then Grandma would sit down and we'd plunk out as many Christmas carols as we could get through that people kind of reminisced on. Um, and that was always a lot of fun for me because, like,
Because you're a music guy.
well, yeah, and my family's reasonably musically talented. We never had sopranos. which is funny because that's usually the part that you have the least trouble finding. But um, we never had someone to sing the melody, so we had lots of harmony but no melody. Um, yeah,
And Josh just learned that those aren't the same thing.
yeah. Harmony is when two notes sound good together. Melody is like the part that the main voice is singing.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh man.
And Josh just learned some music theory.
I
Um,
am I am illiterate at many things, and one of them is music theory.
that's I don't even know if that counts as music theory. That's just like bare bones musical technology or musical terminology.
Well,
Anyway, um, yeah, so that was always a big part of it. And like a big thing for me in that was it felt kind of like an extension of church. It felt like, the celebration of Jesus' birth was continuing on um into that. And
oh, I might steal that story for the sermon this weekend, actually.
yeah, go for it. Uh you're welcome, members of Edgewater Lutheran Church in Eastvale, California. I just gave Josh better sermon material than he had.
I mean, maybe I had zero sermon material ready, so that's the task list for when this call is over.
That's fair. Um, but like there's something about Christmas and about the community of family and um the meals that you share, the joy that's there, um, that I think can really help you lean into why you're there, right? The birth of Christ. Um, and that's kind of what Josh and I want to talk about in general is like how do we use the traditions that in many cases we already have to really help us reinforce the story of Christmas and the beauty of, and I'm going to use a big theology term here, so deal with it. The beauty of the incarnation, that is Jesus becoming
It's
flesh.
much less big than I thought you.
Eh,
I was expecting something in Latin at very least, and I did not get it.
I could look up what our incarnation is in Latin.
Wouldn't have the same.
Josh is ready to throw something through his computer.
I'm gonna mail you a dead fish.
You could just mail me that bird that ghost got. Um,
No, so well, there is one thing that comes to mind for me because I've heard it in a couple different places from a couple different people. Because Ben is right. These traditions that we have with family, with friends, with the people around us, they can support our celebration of Christ's birth. However, we have to keep in mind that they are there to help us with that celebration. Not they're not distinct from it. So, for example, if you have a family tradition and you do not go to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day because of your family tradition, that is not just ambivalent, that is actively working against your celebration of Christmas. And what I would like, and then we'll get back to happier things, but this is a pet peeve of mine. I would like to remind everyone who listens to this, Christmas is not a family holiday, first and foremost. Christmas is a church holiday where we also tend to spend time with family. Okay. So when you're, well, it's a family holiday. I got to spend time with family. No, it's a church holiday. Go to church and then spend time with family. That's
and
that's that's my soapbox. So we can
in
move on.
most churches, like I'm guessing, Josh, you guys have multiple services on Christmas Eve.
We do.
We've got three on Christmas Eve and one on Christmas Day. So like you can find an opportunity to sneak away from family for a little bit if it's just you. And there are, even in California, there are other churches in the area. If you're a member of Josh's church and your family insists on getting together during the time period that encompasses all of Josh's services, find another church in the area and go to that if you don't feel like ducking on Josh or ducking on your family to go spend time with Josh, which I get. Like,
And my response would be, bring your family to church and I will see you
I
Sunday
mean,
at 7 p.m.
if you can make that happen, beautiful. That's even better. But if you can't, and like you want the opportunity both to
Ben is
attend
the
worship,
more gracious overlord than I am.
yeah, yeah. But if you want the opportunity to attend worship and to witness to your family about the true meaning of Christmas, go to church, then come home and put the Peanuts Christmas special on the TV
That's
and
that's a classic.
just set it to replay Linus's speech.
I will say, or I want to clarify, we don't have multiple Christmas Eve services. We have a fourth Sunday and Advent service. We have a Christmas Eve service, and then we have a Christmas Day service. Yeah, we're not hitting the capacity of that room enough yet to warrant multiple Christmas Eve services.
Fair.
In any case, on to cheerier things, which was supposed to be the point of this episode. You want to hear the kind of silly tradition that Chris and I have on
Sure. And then I'll
Eve?
back it up with the one that I'm hoping is forming.
Yeah, so and this started my vicarage church was massive. And I think the Christmas Eve that I was there, I want to say there were 4 services Christmas Eve. So like I think the earliest one was at 4 p.m. is when it started. And they just rolled. And so what happened was is we got like the entire pastoral staff, so the 2 pastors and myself, the vicar, we were there for probably 8 hours that night. Right, we got there at 4. We did not leave until probably close to midnight. And my delightful wife brought us pizza in between 2 of the services because we didn't really have time to go, like, to leave campus ourselves, get something, come back. So she had pizza like ready for us in between services, which was really phenomenal. And since then, every Christmas Eve we have gotten Domino's pizza. I don't know if that tradition is going to shift this year because we have stopped buying Domino's because the one by us is trash. They always mess up ingredients. The pizza's not always cooked, although it's bad. So we switched pizza places to a place called Pizza Guys. And I don't know if our tradition is going to be we get Domino's every year or we get pizza every year. We'll see about that. And then we always hit Target on the way home Christmas Eve, and we separate in Target and we fill each other's stock. Like we get stuff to fill each other's stockings, and like we check out separately. We get opaque bags so that no one can. Like we can't see because we're in the same car, so we can't see what we got each other. And in that way, the stuff in the stocking is a genuine surprise. So those are kind of 2. I wouldn't say they really. I mean, you could say it's the joy of Christmas, but that's loose. That feels lazy. But it's just some fun stuff that Chris and I do around Christmas time. Yeah. What about you? What's this tradition you want to start, Ben?
Well, so it's something that we've been able to do the last couple of years for Lent, but not so much for Advent/Christmas. So the churches in my circuit, which for those of you who didn't listen to our episode on LCMS structure, the circuit's like
It's an episode.
the like 8 to 12 churches in your local geographic area that are hypothetically supposed to work together to serve the broader community. Josh's eye roll says everything about how
Yeah,
that generally
it
plays
entirely
out.
depends on what circuit you're in.
Exactly. My circuit is pretty good, pretty close. Um, and so for the last 2 years for Lent, in varying forms, we've had some sort of rotation where the responsibilities of preaching and putting together the worship service and all that kind of stuff are not as great for every pastor every week. And that's meant that I have more opportunities to worship with my wife. We started doing that for Advent this year, which is different than what we've been able to do in the past. Um, so it feels kind of nice to just have a day or a couple of days where I can actually worship with my wife as we prepare for Christmas. And this year I've designed a service for Christmas Day that can pretty much run itself. Um, and so I'm thinking
Terminator
about,
of worship services.
huh?
It's the Terminator of worship services,
Basically, I mean, it's
basically.
the idea is that it's so easy that
A caveman could do it.
yes, um, and like in future would love to be able to on Christmas Day come in, let somebody else lead the service for the most part, so I can let my voice have a rest and like just worship, even if it like an elder or someone else I trust in the congregation to do that. And then um, we have communion on Christmas Day because Christmas Day is for the diehards. Christmas Eve is usually more of a tourist thing.
Your creasters come on Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So uh, on Christmas Day, like when it's usually just my congregation's people, we're gonna get together and have communion. So I'll come up, consecrate communion. Like if that's my whole responsibility day of on Christmas Eve or on Christmas Day, that would be great. And just give me the opportunity to worship and enjoy Christmas Day. That's what I'm hoping becomes a tradition.
It sounds like an admirable goal.
Thanks. But I think like circling back to the question though, um, in terms of things like a big family meal or um, a gift exchange or um, whatever else there might be, Christmas movies, Christmas cookies, specific desserts or drinks or whatever else. Um, what do you think you would advise people to do in terms of helping redirect back towards the reason for the festivities?
I think you can do it with small things. So like for the family dinner, take 5 minutes at the beginning or at the end of the meal and have someone read the story from Luke.
Hmm.
It wouldn't take longer than 5-10 minutes, right? And it's like it sounds like a lot, but not when you actually think about it. It's 5 to 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna spend longer playing on your phone on the porcelain throne after the meal than you will. So like it's as easy as that. Say, hey, we're gonna read this from Luke quick. Or if you're like, we're doing a Christmas movie marathon, make sure you hit the best ones, obviously, First Blood, Die Hard. But throw something in there like the Charlie Brown Christmas special that acts like intentionally put a movie in there that actually draws attention to the reason not just something about Santa or about the high power lawyer coming to the small hometown and finding love because Christmas for some reason. Um, like
Watch too much Hallmark.
yeah, find a Christmas movie that's actually about Christmas. Um,
And not the commercialized version.
yeah, not the
The
Santa
Jesus
version,
version.
the Jesus version.
Yes.
We should have done an episode about Santa. Maybe next year. Um, so like just doing those little things because it is right there, right? It's I think an easier time than most to incorporate Jesus-y kind of things into your routines.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding. Go to church. If it's not part of your tradition to be in worship on Christmas, it should be. So add that. And in reality, we said, Christmas Day is for the diehards. Go to Christmas Day worship. um,
We're a day late for that with this episode, but put it on your
that's
calendar
true. That's
for 365 days from now, as you're
yeah.
hearing this on the day it came out, because next year's a leap year.
Well, here's
So
the thing. You can put it in your calendar right now because I can tell you the date of Christmas next year. It's going to be December 25th. You can go.
Wednesday, December 25th.
Yeah, you can put it in your calendar right now. You can go open your Google Calendar or whatever Apple products have, and you can add, say, Christmas Day. Just block off the morning and say, I'm going to be in church at some point. And here's the thing: if you say block off from 8 a.m. to noon, and you're like, well, that's a lot of time. You're right, it is a lot of time. So when your church announces its actual worship schedule and it's only like an hour of that, you're going to be like, look at how much time just got freed up on Christmas morning. It's like a little surprise gift to future you. But yeah, so just for a lot of the traditions, you can just take a little tiny extra step and it can point you in the right direction. And then I'm pushing you to also take the big step, go to church. On Christmas, you should be in church at least twice in the 24 hours surrounding Christmas. This year, 3 times. You should be in church 3 times. Go Sunday morning, go Sunday night, go Monday morning.
For my health, we're not doing a service that morning.
What, Sunday morning or Monday morning?
Sunday morning.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, that's fair.
I appreciate Josh's determination there.
Well, and like I said, it's too late anyway. If you're hearing this, you either went to those services or you didn't.
So, congratulations or shame on you.
And by the time this is released, I will be on vacation. Woo!
Yeah, same. One last thing, as just kind of a note, like other suggestions in terms of ways to incorporate things. I know Josh said included a Jesus Christmas movie into your family marathon, or read the Christmas story, or print off a devotional and do it as part of a Christmas toast. Like,
yeah. And if you need a source for that, go to lhm.org. I think
or 1517.
It will be there.
Yeah. Or 1517, or if your church has Portals of Prayer, pick up a copy of Portals of Prayer.
Yeah.
The little devotional books that are about the size of your cell phone, or they're the size of a book if you're blind.
Yeah, if you get the large print ones.
Yeah. But or just like if your Christmas tradition for whatever reason dictates that it's just you and your immediate family, especially if you've got kids, you can do what my dad liked to do on the way home from church. Okay, what's one thing you learned from the sermon tonight? And just make sure that you're engaging.
That's a dangerous question for pastors to ask their families. You might reveal that your family was not listening to you.
That's true.
I'm not speaking from experience. Chris always knows what's going on, and Ezekiel doesn't have the language skills to express either way yet.
Fair. But it's just good to build that level of association of like, all right, you're here to grow, you're here to learn, and you're here to learn about Jesus' birth. So get those things kind of intertwined as much as you can into that night. So
Yeah,
Josh, you got anything else you want to add, or do you want to go takeaways?
we can do takeaways. You
I
want to
got
go
I got
first?
the perfect uh takeaway for both of us. Merry Christmas. Make sure it's about Jesus.